This is my video for the Sprint 3 of the Centipede project. Starting out, missing from Sprint 2, I have in the critters both the flea, which has an initialize and a constructor, and then the update, which is how all movements will work. It's just over time. You add in an array of offsets and decrement the count, which determines how many pixels or how many frames you will move. And then once you are done with the movement, then you will check things. Within these functions, we have the health update, and it just has a simple move down, which sets the array to the offset, which is the speed variable that can be changed. And then in here, we call a check with the mushroom manager to see if there is anything at the position you are at, and if there is not, then there's a random chance to spawn a mushroom there, which is a function you call inside the mushroom manager. Scorpion is the same way with a constructor and initializer that set the values. The initializer will pick left or right side and a random row to spawn in. The update moves the same way with a array of offsets, and then every time you reach a new column, you will check to see if there is a mushroom there, and if there is, you would call the mushroom manager to poison that mushroom. So everything mushroom related is handled by the manager. We have these two functions which will set the left or right move in the array relative to depending on what side you spawn on. There's also, for Sprint 3, we have the spider, which has the same sort of update and checking the values when the count is equal to 0. He has an up and a down move as well as a diagonal, which allows him to move with both a X speed and a Y speed, which just adds into the array. Currently, right now, for testing purposes, anytime he collides with a mushroom, he will call for the manager to destroy it, so he'll eat any mushroom. In the centipede and then in the strategies, all of the critters have their own factories, which the critter manager inherits all of them and will spawn them depending on key presses so that I can control it. In the centipede, I have the centipede head, which uses this is the spawn segments, which will spawn all the segments and link them together in a linked list. The length is how many you want to spawn. The update works the same way, where it's basically adding in an array of offsets, and when it's finished, you would call to tell the next in the line what to do, and then you would call movement update, and the movement update will just check with the grid at an offsetted value to see if there's a mushroom there. And then depending on that, we have quite a few statements to check, and then we will determine where to go or whether or not we've been poisoned. This is the behavior if we have been poisoned, which is just this if statement versus that if statement of the two poisoned or not poisoned. These are all the move functions, which just set the array to the proper one, and then I have a switch statement that keeps track of which direction you were previously moving in. I'm trying to think of a way to do this differently without the switch, but this is what I have at the moment. The centipede body is basically the same as the head, with the initialize, and then has a next and a previous pointing to the other body parts. The update works the same way. It's all the same update function, except you don't call an update to check where to go. You will be told by the previous body segment what to do, which would be called by the movement update function, which will just call the switch. Currently, the centipede body and the head have basically the same switch statements and the same move functions, which I intend to switch over into this base centipede class, but constrained on time, I haven't done it yet, but hopefully that will be done by the next sprite. my next sprint, sorry. The mushroom field, pretty much not much has changed, except now there's a factory that's used to spawn and the mushrooms so that I'm not overly spawning mushrooms. Now if I launch the debugger, Visual Studio on my laptop is a little slow. There it is. Spawns in, we can see the mushroom grid, and then I can spawn in scorpions on random sides, which will come in and poison mushrooms. I can spawn in spiders, which have their up and down movements and their diagonal movements. I have not implemented a randomness to their behavior yet. I just have the basic movement, but they will eat mushrooms if they go over the top of them. The flea will drop from the top like so, and will drop mushrooms as he's going. Can also spawn just the basic centipede head, which has most functionalities. If I can get it to hit a poison mushroom head, it will send back down. Currently when it hits, it'll bounce backwards and then go down. I haven't figured out the problem there. It'll come back down and lock within the player area. And then I also have a full-on centipede that I can spawn that has 11 segments. You'll see that the centipede head will bounce back down, and I can shoot it, spawn a mushroom in the grid. Currently I have no collision with the centipede, but if I do shoot the head, since the head is responsible for all of the movement, the rest of the centipede will just freeze. There's no collision with the bullet for the current segment since I don't have splitting available yet, but that is all that I have for Sprint 2 or Sprint 3. Still working on it.